Alright, so today I just want to talk about something really fast. Actually, I want to talk about a few things that I've seen recently. It won't really be a focused video, but since I don't want to make multiple videos, I'm just going to do one, even if YouTube would prefer me to make two. But really fast, since I haven't uploaded in a while. As you guys may or may not have seen, about a week ago in the Carousel of Ragnarok event playlist, somehow the testing grounds changes snuck their way back into the game. Everything wasn't exactly how they left it, but still, they were there. And a little bit later, they were removed. I had played Carousel of Ragnarok a little bit before reading that the changes were in there, and to be honest with you, I didn't even notice the changes were there because the mode is so chaotic. UB released a short statement saying that they were aware that a lot of us are really waiting on any sort of news regarding the testing grounds changes or when they'd arrived, and they let us know that they have been working on them for the past few months, refining the fight system improvements. They mentioned that there were more damage tweaks, addressing light spam issues, feet balancing, and other issues they're working on. They then thank us and say that they're looking forward to sharing more with us in Season 2, which is next season. That'll drop in a few weeks here. I figured that UB was still working on the changes and messing around with things. We probably would have heard something earlier had things been normal, but it's still nice to hear something, you know? Anyways, Carousel of Fire is here now, and I've been having fun with it. Also, last thing, the Highlander Challenge is finished. I'm not going to talk about it much today, but just know that it's done. And now we are 1,000 subs away from the Shinobi Challenge. So if you're new here or watch this channel regularly and you aren't subbed, I'd appreciate it if you tapped or clicked on that sub button really fast. And if you are subbed, it'd be really cool if you clicked on the bell and turned on notifications. Now, let me get into what I want to talk about today. On Wednesday, I was watching a big streamer on Twitch, or more so, I just had it going on in the background, and he was just playing whatever game he wanted, and someone in the chat asked him to play For Honor, which he decided to respond to. Of course, this got me reinvested into the stream because I always want to see streamers that size playing For Honor and hear what they have to say about the game, especially if they don't play it often or haven't played it in some time, or even better if they haven't played it at all, because it seems like most people who don't know what For Honor is always seem impressed by the way it looks. Anyways, in short, he basically goes on to say that if he hopped back on For Honor, he'd probably run into players that can defend against everything he decided to do, and that everyone that is still playing For Honor today is probably really good at the game. He then goes on to say that he really hopes the UB goes on to make a For Honor 2, for what I'm assuming is the same reason a lot of us are hoping for a sequel to this game, that being that we all know that For Honor released in a rocky state and garnered a lot of negative feedback, and feel that if this game were released in today's state, it would without a doubt be much more popular than it is currently, and that a second game would be like a breath of fresh air or a second win for the franchise. There's not a doubt in my mind it would be very popular, at least on launch week, and bring more eyes to the game and franchise than continuously updating the game. Anyways, I do really wonder how many people feel the same way as the streamer. I obviously can't ask you all, because if you're watching this channel, you probably still play the game, or at least try to keep up with what's going on, or at the very least just want to see the new things that show up every season and look at larger updates. I could only really get the feedback I'm looking for from people who had interest at the game in launch and put it down for whatever reason. I think if you're newer to the game would be much more fun for you. Sometimes I feel as though the better you get at this game and the longer you've played, the less fun you can have with it, as we always talk about the quote-unquote good old days when no one knew what they were doing. And then of course, as you play more and experience more and get better at the game, you obviously end up going against better and better opponents. That is, if matchmaking does its job and places you in lobbies where you're up against players of a similar skill. And I say that because we all know that there are times where you'll end up in a totally mismatched lobby. I think it'd be a lot of fun if you played back when there were 12 heroes, then hop back in to see all these new heroes, a new mode in Breach, new maps, and being able to actually finish a match. Now, it is up to the player on whether or not they want to play the game, and generally, when you want to get back into a game, you either just re-download it and get back into it on a whim, or you do a bit of research on it beforehand, or at least that's what I do. You know, look at streams, maybe head to the website to see if there's been any major patches, or of course watch videos on the game on YouTube. And I think if you look up For Honor on YouTube, you're generally going to see good things. Most videos or content creators seem to be on the same page that for the most part the game is in its best state right now. And looking through top comments generally say something like For Honor is a love-hate relationship. But it can't help that people like to just shit all over the game when they get upset with it, and then head to whatever forum they decide to go to and talk about how terrible the game is, or how trash the meta is, or how they'd rather wrap a baseball bat in barbed wire and sit on it before ever launching For Honor again. It doesn't really paint the game in a great light. I know that it isn't our jobs or anything, but if I'm on the outside looking in, and in the back of my mind the game already has a sort of rocky reputation, I'm not going to have a great feeling about hopping back into the game if everywhere I turn people are just dumping on it. And you know me, I don't care if people rant about the game or have problems with the game. You know, if you don't like your balls being turned into dust because you wanted to fight against a certain character, that's fine. If you don't like the direction the game is going in, that's fine. If you've watched this channel for a while, you know I used to get upset over a lot of things that were in the game and ranted a bunch, but have mellowed out over time and have a much more positive outlook on things. So trust me, I know where you're coming from. But when you're just making things up to be upset about, or ranting about things that aren't even in the game anymore, or ranting about something that just isn't true, that's what I don't like. Again, I know that it isn't our jobs as players to try and convince new players to play the game, but I want as many people to like the game or play the game as possible, just so that we have a better chance at receiving another title, or at least receive somewhat consistent updates in the future. Of course, it helps me out too. I'm not going to act like it wouldn't. The more people playing this game means that there are more people who could possibly stumble across this channel. But I also want this game to do well because, as we all know, there is no competition. Other more traditional fighting games aren't really competing with this game. I can't think of anything that does. And if you do know of a game that compares, please let me know in the comments or on Discord or Twitter, because I've genuinely been looking. And despite how I feel about For Honor sometimes, whenever I feel like playing a video game, I usually end up on For Honor. And maybe that's just because there's nothing I'm really interested in playing at the moment, as a game I really wanted to play was delayed, but still, For Honor is my go-to. And even if I had other games that I really wanted to play, I know that I would end up on For Honor before the night's end. And I wholeheartedly do want to see the game succeed. Now, the last video I made, I talked about the whole Into the Fray thing that Ubi's doing, you know, the community tournaments. And anytime I mention or even make a peep about competitive For Honor or tournaments or whatever you want to call it, I always end up talking with players or looking at comments about the state of the game, or how this game isn't ready to be played in a competitive environment, or how this game doesn't hold a candle to other games when it comes to competition, whether it be a fighting game or another Ubi title in Rainbow Six Siege. And you know, I don't even mind that whole conversation. You can feel however you want about the game, but one thing I don't really understand when it comes to some people is how they can speak as though the game hasn't undergone any changes since launch, or that the game is somehow in the same state that it was in years ago in the first few seasons. Has Ubi come out and fixed every single issue that this game has? No, not at all. And we all wish that they were a bit faster at doing things, at least before this whole worldwide thing, of course. There are tons of things I'd love to see worked on, even after all the changes we've gotten, because as with any game that has constant updates and is worked on for a while, you're going to find things that you find problematic. And as new things are introduced, you'll find different things, or players will behave and play differently, you know, things like that. But acting as though nothing at all has changed is just being disingenuous. Now, maybe if you hopped into the game at the start of year 4, or a little bit after Jianhu released, or even a bit after Yorm released, then you could say, yeah, not much has changed. But If you started playing this game in beta or in year 1, you know full well what's changed. You shouldn't join a lobby with 1 or 2 laggy opponents and just say, this game hasn't fixed anything when it comes to connection or servers, especially after you've played 6 or 7 matches beforehand that were probably just fine. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I just wanted to talk about that for a short while. I do plan on talking about my Highlander experience pretty soon, as it was quite the trip, and I do have some good things to say about him. The whole experience was not terrible, and I can see why people play him until rep 70 or play exclusively Highlander, but I'll wait to talk about that until another time. We are just 2.5 weeks away from the next season. The wait is finally almost over, and hopefully we'll see you be talking about what to expect from next season sometime here shortly. I really can't wait to see what this new hero looks like. We've waited for a while now, and I'm hoping that they knock it out of the park with them, but we'll see. Anyways, I do want to know what you guys think, so be sure to talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as always, if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.